Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Cindy and I do all kinds of free tutorials on paper crafts. Today I am mass making again because I do have a Patreon with some active members that I send kits to every month, so I have to always keep ahead of that and mass make things so that by the end of the month I'm ready to ship out some really nice kits. If you follow me, you know that at some point I bought out a wallpaper store and I have a whole ton of wallpaper in my stash and in my shop. But in the wallpaper books, they have these samples that's kind of like a cardstock almost that shows you how to use the wallpaper. And let me tell you, I have some gorgeous wallpaper in my shop. But I didn't want to throw these away because they're beautiful, but they are glossy. So today I have been experimenting with how to get rid of that gloss. I watched a whole bunch of videos on ideas that other people had. Most people take matte Mod Podge and paint over the image and then sand it. I don't have time for that, and if you follow me regularly, you know that glue is my enemy. I do not do well with glue. I make a huge mess. I don't like it. I get it all over my hands, all over my desk. I'm just a mess with glue. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work for me. So I tried a few things this morning, and I definitely have a favorite. I'm going to show you 3 techniques that I tried. This is how the first piece of cardstock looks just on its own. You can see it's very shiny. And keep in mind, I'm using thicker paper here, so if you're going to try this technique with a magazine page, you want to back it onto something, or it's probably going to not work very well. It needs to be a little more substantial and sturdy. So this is what it looks like without any of these techniques. This is technique number 1, still slightly shiny, but starting to look more vintage. This is technique number 2. Still a little bit shiny, but that's only because my overhead light is shining directly on it. It's really not that shiny in person. And then here's technique number 3 that really got rid of the shine. Again, it's hard to see because my light is really shining on it, but when you're just looking at it like this, you don't notice the shine. So let me show you the 3 techniques that I tried, starting with this one. And here's a really pretty image that I fussy cut off of those pages. The first one is just the same thing that other people were doing, using a very fine grit sandpaper. I like these blocks because they're easier on the hands than regular sandpaper. I have to be a little more ergonomic, especially when I'm mass making. But the trick that I found with this, besides using a very fine grit, is don't go back and forth because you're going to get lines. So just very lightly go around in circles like this and press as hard or as light as you want until you get the effect that you're looking for. And that quickly, again, it's going to look shiny on my camera, but it looks distressed. And this is something I definitely would use in a journal at this point. Technique number 2 was a combination of sanding and embossing. And I love the way this one turned out. I don't know if you can see the embossing. Do you see the flowers here? Well, you can probably see it on this side. You see what my embossing machine did? So you can barely see it in the camera, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. So I used a combination of sanding and embossing. You can do one of two things. You can sand first and then emboss, or you can emboss and then sand. It depends on what you want to be distressed. If you emboss first, like I did here, well, let me see if I have a better example. Okay, if you emboss first, so this didn't come out very well. This is one of my experiments, but you see the embossing, it's like a tree that's on this side. If you emboss first and then sand, you are going to sand down the embossed image. That's kind of what I was going for here. It didn't work super well. And it did work a little better on this one. You can see the flower there. This is what it looks like. Okay. If you sand first and then emboss, then more of the background is going to be sanded. Let's try one of each. And I did notice that it seemed to work better if you have the debossed side on the top. On these glossy images, it showed up a little better. So this one, I have the debossed side on the top. In other words, it's raised on this side and not raised on this side. And so when I sanded, it kind of sanded around the edges of the image, which I really liked, as opposed to this one when, let me see, you can't see on that one on camera. This one, I did the tree and the embossed side is on this side and the debossed side is on this side. And what that does, I mean, you can make the choice because it just gives you two different looks. What that does is it's going to sand the embossed part and not your background. So it depends on what kind of look you're going for. I rather like this one, but this is very busy, so maybe that's why I don't like it, but I love the way this one turned out. So let's try one. Here's an image that I don't particularly care for. It's not one I would use in a journal, but I love the colors. So I think this one for the background, I'm going to sand down the whole thing and then emboss it. And I'm pressing a little harder on this one. So already that looks like a cool little distressed piece. And then maybe I will try to put a flower in the middle. Do this flower here. And let's see, I want this side to be debossed. So in my embossing folder, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but this is the raised portion. So I'm going to put this down on the raised portion of my embossing folder. Okay. Oh, this is going to be so hard to show you guys, but you can see the flower. So see the flower? Okay, you're not going to be able to see it, I don't think. But it looks really pretty, but I want this to show up more. So now I'm going to sand it again. I'm doing more sanding where the flower is, but I'm not pressing hard because it is going to deboss the imprint of the stencil. It's going to flatten it out. I don't know if deboss was really the term I meant there, but so I'm just removing more of the image that's around the embossed portion, and now you can really see the flowers right here and right here, and it just picked up all the nice colors that were underneath. This one tearing a little bit, but that's okay. I think that that's really, really beautiful. The next technique is if you have an image that you really like and you don't want to just completely ruin it like here. This one I just wanted the colors. This one this is a cool image. So for this one I'm going to use acrylic paint and I'm just using matte antique white, quick drying. You can use any paint you want depending on what you want here. Now on really glossy images, I noticed that you do have to sand first. If you just put the paint on and you're kind of rubbing it with your finger, the more you rub, it's just going to come right off again. So for this one, I just give it a really light sand so that the paint can grip. So very, very light. And then I just have some on my board here and I'm putting it on. You can go and if you feel there's too much in one area, you can just rub it off while it's still wet. And I'm going in a circular motion because I don't want lines on it. You mixed media artists, you might have a better way of doing this. I'm sure you do. But I always liked finger painting when I was a kid. And to me, this is relaxing and fun. So there we go. The image is still showing through, but the shine is pretty much gone. Now I have to make sure I don't get paint all over my mouse. My favorite ones really, though, are the ones that used a combination of sanding and embossing. Again, I wish you could see how beautiful this is. So let's do one more with the sanding and embossing. I think it really depends on how much of your image you want to show. That determines which technique you're going to use. And by the way, I did use a more busy stencil and it just really didn't work really well. It gave it some texture, but it just made it way too busy. So I'm sticking with a couple of stencils that are, oh here, that are easier images. So I have this one by Darice. I don't know where I got these. And that's just a simple couple of flowers. And this one, same company. It's just a tree. And then again, same company. And it's a tree with some leaves. Most of my other stencils are very busy. I do have, I guess I bought a lot from this gal, Darice. I do have some that are really nice for borders. And if I decide to make some belly bands or some borders, side pockets, things like that, I might use these, but these are pretty busy too. So I think for right now, I am going to, and this is another tip for mask making, just pick one. I'm just going to pick this one because I like it and it's doing well with this project. So I'm just going to pick one and put all the others away and out of my way. And I'm done with this. So let me just clean up, reorganize. Okay, so I'm all set up for mask making. I'm going to sand and emboss, and that's it. Later on, as I'm going through, I will make a pile of ones that I want to use the acrylic paint on, and I will just mask make those. I love the colors on this, so I'm going to cut this down to fit into my embossing folder. And I wish that these embossing folders were a little bigger, but they're not. And because I don't really care about the image on this one, I want more of the color. I am going to sand it down just a little bit to get the gloss off first. And I want to make sure it's not super, super busy or the stencil will not show through. And that even just by itself looks like a pretty postcard, doesn't it? Let me wipe the dust off. That had paint on it. Okay, and then I want the debossed side on the top. So this is the embossed side. I'm going to put it down like this and send it through. Okay. Oh, that side's kind of pretty too. I didn't see that side. But there we have it. And I'm going to now sand it even more so that the image starts coming through. Again, very, very lightly. And you can really see that image. This has turned out really pretty. I might sand down this a little more because I don't want it to detract from my flowers over here. Beautiful. But look how pretty that is. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this box. I'm going to put on Doctor Who. I just started watching Doctor Who. I'm very late to the party. Let me know if you like Doctor Who. I started with episode 1, season 1, and it's kind of campy, and I like it while I'm crafting. I don't really have to watch it, so it's been kind of fun. So I'm going to put that on. Mass make for my Patreons for probably April. And let me just go through the 3 techniques again. Just show you my examples here. So, oh, there's the other one. So this was the original, the glossy. This was just sanded. This was sanded and embossed. But again, on this one, I used this very, very busy stamp, so it didn't come out all that great, but here are other examples of sanding and embossing. This is my favorite, the sanding and embossing method. And then this is just acrylic paint on the top. 3 different techniques, 3 different looks, but it does enable you to use glossy images in your junk journals that can be quite beautiful. Let me know if you try this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!